Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Sri Tips here. And what we're going to do today is process this gold-filled material and do a recovery, get the gold foils off of this stuff, and then we're going to refine it into high purity gold. And we're going to do that for you right now. I begin the process by removing all of the steel, the non-gold filled metal, the springs, the stones, anything that's not gold filled. I use cutters and pliers to clean the scrap up mechanically so that all I have left in the bowl is a bowl full of clean gold filled scrap. Got all the gold filled material processed now. So what we'll do is set it up on this scale and get a weight on this. Dump it right in. Here we go. Looks like 422 grams. Here we go. We're going to start out with our gold-filled stuff. It's been all cleaned up mechanically, all the steel springs, the stones, and all the non-gold-filled material has been removed. So we're going to begin by adding some distilled water. Got to use distilled water because we're going to be putting silver in solution. This will have a little bit of silver in it. So we're going to add about, let's go with 1,000 milliliters, 1 liter of distilled water in a 4-liter beaker. Our first step is to incinerate this material. I just wanted to show you real quick, if I can. There's some markings on here that identify this material as gold filled. There you can see it's 1/20th 10K gold filled. That's one of the pins. This piece has a gold filled marking on it on the inside there. Let's see if we can find that for you. It says, oh boy, right there. You can see the marking on it right there. These bangle bracelets have a thick coating of karat gold on them. They're high yielding. Anytime I find these, I always pick these up and get them. Here's one that says gold filled on it, right there. See that? Here's another one. It's got a marking right on it. It says gold filled. That steel pin out of there if we can. So let's just grab a handful of this material, transfer it to our dish here. We're going to take a torch now and burn it. Here I'm heating it to redness to burn off any oil or grease. I don't want to melt it because if I melt it, it'll try to alloy and then make the recovery a little bit more difficult. Now we'll just pour it in our beaker. It has the water in it. And do the next group here. Get all this in here if we can. Now we'll set our beaker with our incinerated gold-filled material in it up on a heat source over here. We've got some nitric acid, and what we'll do is fill up this separatory funnel. When we first start this reaction, I have to add the nitric acid to the beaker real slow so that it doesn't boil over. So I've rigged up this nitric acid delivery apparatus to drip the acid in real slow. we'll do is start dripping a little bit of this acid down into our reaction beaker in here from our nitric acid delivery apparatus. And what we'll do is just slowly add the nitric acid in a little bit at a time and start dissolving out the silver and the base metals out of this gold-filled material. In this sequence, I've got the first 500 milliliters of nitric acid into the beaker, and then I took it back out, took the apparatus out, refilled the separatory funnel with 500 more milliliters, and got that dripped in there. And then towards the end of the reaction, I added a little bit more distilled water. We've got this to a spot where we can turn the heat off. Let's check in here and see what it looks like inside of a beaker. Oh yeah, look at that. That's the gold foils. Looks superb right there. That's the thick coating of gold. It's over the top of the brass. We should have just about all of it dissolved out of these gold filled pieces. Now we're just going to shut this down, let it cool off for a while. Allow this to cool completely. Now what we'll do is pull the solution off of here with a vacuum bottle. Clear this line with some distilled water. Here's a look at the gold foils. All the base metals have been removed from this material now, most of it anyway. And we just have hollow shells, gold foils, carat gold foils, of what these items used to be. What we'll do now is add a little bit more distilled water to this material. Distilled water. That's about 300 milliliters of distilled water. Now I'll pour in a couple hundred more liters of nitric acid. And this is to ensure that we've got all these base metals removed out of here before we go to the next step in the processing. We'll cover this up and I'll put some heat on it, and we'll go ahead and continue to boil this to make sure we got all the silver and base metals out of the gold-filled material. The longer we spend here under the hot boiling nitric acid, the easier the refining will be later on. Once this got going, I added a little bit more distilled water. You can tell by the fume production that we're still pulling some base metals and possibly silver out of the material. And then I cranked the heat up and let it boil real strong towards the end. We've had this on long enough. I think what we're going to do now is to go ahead and pull this down off of the heat and let it cool off for a little while. This is a 12.5 centimeter Buchner funnel. This is an 11 centimeter Buchner funnel. You notice it fits right down in here nicely. What I do is I take a 24 centimeter number 2 medium flow filter paper, and I set my 11 centimeter funnel down on a flat surface, and I fold it up around the 11 centimeter Buchner funnel to create this specially prepared filter paper. See the shapes of these folds? It's important to get them in that shape. And now this thing will fit right down inside of this filter or the funnel. And what we can do is capture 100% of the solids from our gold filled material. So we're going to start filtering this off now. There's our gold foils in there. So I can get a better shot of that for you. The material up inside this beaker. This is our gold foils and gold mud. This up here that I'm rinsing out of the beaker right now is our valuable material. And so we want to filter this out of the waste solution there and collect our valuable gold foils in this filter. Stuff loves to stick in the bottom of the beaker. Try to get it out of here without making a mess. Down into the filter. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some fumes forming in here. That's a good thing. That means we've got excess nitric in that liquid, and that means that we're fairly certain that we'll have all of the base metals dissolved out of this now. The base metals and silver will be in that blue liquid that I'm filtering off of our valuable gold foils now. We've almost got the recovery complete. Got all the liquid pulled off of here. Got it rinsed off pretty good. So now what we'll do is take the stuff out of our funnel. I'm going to put it down here in a melt dish. That's our gold foils there. And what we'll do is get this ready for incineration. Here's the gold foils in our melt dish. So what we're going to do is put this down inside of an oven now. If you don't have an oven like this, a propane torch with the flame turned down real low can be used to incinerate the material. I'm going to stick it in the oven and just let it incinerate now. I've had this in here about 25 minutes now. You can see it's nice and glowing red. I'm going to take this out, put it up here, and let it cool off. Material's been allowed to cool completely. Got a beaker here with a stir bar down in it. Here's our incinerated gold foils. Looking pretty smart. I'm going to add it to this beaker now carefully. Hydrochloric acid, and for this amount of gold we're expecting about 3 grams per 100 grams of gold filled material. So what's that going to be? 3 times 4 is 12 grams of pure gold from this. I'm going to go with 300 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. I'll set this up on top of our heat source over here, and I'm going to turn the heat on, some low heat. A few drops of sulfuric acid in case there's any lead in our material, which is really quite likely with gold-filled stuff. So that's about half a milliliter of sulfuric acid to take care of any lead that may be present. I'm going to add about 40 milliliters of nitric acid to this beaker. Turn the stir bar on here. Hopefully get some stirring action going inside of our beaker. I'm going to put it on time lapse and add this 40 milliliters of nitric acid to our 300 milliliters of hydrochloric acid with our gold foils on our stir plate. Here we go. I've got all the excess nitric out of here now. We're going to pull this down and set it down here out of the way and let it cool off. The solution has been allowed to cool overnight, and I'm going to add some ice here. This will dilute the solution, cool it off, and help precipitate out any silver chloride that may be present. Couple of solid pieces in here. That's probably some karat gold. Not sure what that is. And there was a rock, a couple of rocks in here that were had little chunks of gold in it, like gold ore, but there were visible chunks of gold, so I added that in there. But that's probably right there, just quartz. So we'll take this stuff out and save it. Here's a look at the insoluble material that got trapped in our filter. Here's our solution. It's green because there's probably some copper in there. We're expecting about 12 to 14 grams of pure gold from this recovery. going to use some ferrous sulfate that I prepared ahead of time to precipitate out the pure gold. Let's go ahead and just pour this right on in now and precipitate out the pure gold. Here we go. Test a little bit of this solution up on top with some stannous chloride. There you can see the dark stain means we still have gold in solution. Let's get another test after I stirred it up. As you can see by that test, we still got a little bit of gold in solution. Adding a little bit more of the ferrous sulfate solution so we can get the rest of the gold to precipitate out of here. Do another status test now that we added that extra ferrous sulfate. And there you can see no traces of precious metals. Now all the gold has been precipitated. Here you can see on the bottom the gold is settled out down there. You can kind of slosh it around by tilting the beaker. And like I said, we're expecting about 12 to 14 grams of pure gold from this recovery. This stuff settles quickly and cleanly. I don't know if you can see that in there. It's there's our gold. So now what we'll do is we'll pour off excuse me, pour off the waste solution into our waste container. I'm gonna rinse this a couple times with some hot distilled water. Adding some hydrochloric acid. I'm going to set this up on our heater over here and boil this solution, or boil the gold for a little while in hydrochloric acid. Go ahead and pull this down off the heat now. See, our solution turned yellow. The gold looks awesome. Transfer this into a smaller beaker so that it's easier to work with. The gold looks beautiful just like it is. I'm going to add a little bit of water, set this up on our heat over here, and we're going to boil it in some water now, briefly. Okay, I don't know what causes this. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. But it's over here bumping on me, so I gotta take this off the heat. See that bump? I'm gonna pour this off now. This is just a waste solution. Pour it off into our waste container. Why it does that. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. I'm gonna add a little bit more hydrochloric acid to this now. I'm gonna set this up on the heat and boil it one more time in hydrochloric acid gently. I've got a clean stir bar here. I'm gonna drop it in here and see if we can get that to help us with the bumping that's going on inside there. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. I think it has to do with the consistency of the gold powder that I'm trying to boil in the liquid. Let's see if that helps. I think what we'll do is just transfer it from here onto our stir plate and just turn the stir bar on, see if that helps. Okay, the stir bar helped. It's still wanting to bump just a little bit, but at least I got it to go get to a rolling boil here. And as you can see, the solution is nice, colorless. That gold should be nice and clean now for us. We've got some hot water, hot distilled water. I'm gonna pour off the acid now and then rinse it over and over with some hot distilled water. I'm going to try a shortcut here, and instead of using a water bath, I'm going to try to dry the gold off directly in this drying pan. Let's see if I can get it all in here. Bang, bang. Looks pretty good. Yep, I got it all in there. Let's see if we can flatten this out a little bit. Now what we'll do is we'll put this on time lapse and just turn the heat real low and just let it slowly dry directly on the heat source without the water bath. That seemed to work okay. Let's take this down off the heat now. Set it over here out of the way. Let it cool off. I just realized I've got a metal spatula that I can use to transfer this hot gold down into our melt dish. So I'm going to go to the melt table and put this in the melt dish, get it ready to melt. Waving at you. Here's our little bar that we just poured. It looks really good. There's a little bit of junk floating on the surface there, a little bit of contamination. That's okay. So let's get in here and see what this little bar weighs. We're expecting 12 to 14, but I think it looks a little bigger than that, man. I think there's gonna be a lot more than that. All right, we got 17.8 grams of pure gold from that recovery. Let's see, 17.8 divided by 442 grams. So it looks like we've got 4% yield on that batch of gold-filled scrap. This is our next batch of gold-filled material. My good friend Beth, she gave me a bag of this in the past and I refined it for her. She brought this to me. Its value is indeterminable. You can't tell how much this scrap is worth. It's mostly gold-filled stuff, but how you determine the value, and I've determined that the only way to do it is to process it into a piece of pure gold like we have here, and then the value is easily determined. So we'll be doing this next for Beth, and this will conclude the video. I'd like to thank everybody for watching.